And we are live.
Nice. Another week
Yes.
in paradise. It's cold.
It's very cold.
You know, it is. It's funny because
At least for Texas.
Texans freak the hell out when it gets like below 40. I mean, every piece of winter clothes they own, they have on. I think it's funny. And, you know, what's even funnier is firewood. So usually, I've usually have firewood in the bin
Right.
before this time because we like to do fire pits in the backyard.
Right.
And couldn't find any. Everybody's out. I've called multiple places. They're 2 weeks delivery time. It's like, man, I mean,
so you didn't get ahead of the panic buying?
no. And I usually do, but I didn't this year. Shame on me.
No,
That's my bad.
I haven't. I have a fireplace in my house, and I have never ever fired it up. In my opinion, houses, particularly like mine, I don't think the fireplaces were designed to be used.
Not as much as we would use them.
No.
Well, we have the same thing. We have a metal insert with this fire brick inside of it.
Right.
But it's long past its serviceable life. So what I did the other day was Walmart has these little TV-sized fireplaces with the fake logs in them.
My buddy Jeff has one.
So we have that in the front room right now. and it's funny because my wife, she doesn't really need the heat. She just likes to see the fire.
Right.
And I'm tired of burning a fire in a fireplace that's past its service life.
Right.
Because it's going to cost almost $1,000 to fix it. So I bought one of those little TVs and stuck it in there. And it actually looks really good. It looks pretty good. Yeah, so she has her little fire going, and there's no heat from it, but you can feel it in your brain.
I could almost sense. So I saw this amusing video, or somebody was I guess it was in a store, and these kids were just enamored with this ginormous TV that had just this looping image of a fire burning.
Sure.
So they, and it was a really good image. So, they're over there looking at this fire burning,
right,
putting their hands in front of the TV.
I'm telling you.
As if it's emitting, some sort of heat, and in some way it is from the screen. But I was like, it almost could give you sort of give you the sense, just because of the visual, that there is actual heat coming off of that TV in such a weird way. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, here, I'm going to cue one up for you. Ready?
Yeah, something similar to that.
So you can go to YouTube or Netflix, and they have 2, 4, 6, and 8 hours of just a fireplace on your TV. And you can get it with jazz music or Christmas music. So I went in and I checked on the net last night because what we do is we sit up. We turned our fourth bedroom into a theater room, and it's really comfortable.
Right.
And so we're sitting there with these recliner couches and our blankets watching TV. Well, she falls asleep early. So she gets up and she goes to bed downstairs. Well, I'm not ready to go to bed yet. So I'm up there and I'm watching TV, and I like to check on her and make sure everything's good. I go downstairs and I hear the crackling of the fireplace and I hear Christmas music, Kenny G music in the background, and I look at the TV because she has it in armoire, and she's got this big fireplace thing going on. It was hilarious. I was cracking up.
So my answer to that is, because I'm not really gonna. I'd rather look at a real fire.
Oh, me too.
I had just gotten back from a bike ride a couple of weeks ago, and I was like freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
And
is this the mud run that we did, or is it another one?
It was another one.
Okay.
And so I wanted to take a nap, but so I went and did this. I got on my smart TV and pulled up YouTube and went looking for some sort of a relaxing visual or something that put off a pleasing noise.
Right.
And I actually found one that was just an oscillating fan.
Oh yeah, white noise. Yeah.
So and that's all I was looking for.
Yeah.
Well, I found this really badass one, and I'm telling you, that thing wasn't playing 5 minutes before I was conked out in my chair.
I'm telling you.
So I saved that thing as a favorite.
So I have a lot of white noise when I travel. So I sleep really well on jets.
I sleep everywhere.
I pretty much can do that. I can just sit down. And once I just kind of get settled in, I just fall asleep. And so my iPad, you can download this sleep machine, and it gives you different noises like thunderstorms. So I have a 10-hour thunderstorm that I'll listen to at night. Just turn it on,
Right.
that little JBL speaker, and it just really sounds real. And I like that. I've gotten to where when I was a kid, I had to have it pitch black and pitch quiet. No noise, no sound. I can't do that now because I don't know if it's because of tinnitus or if because I'm getting old or what it is, but I just can't settle into a dead quiet room anymore.
Huh.
So I have to have white noise. So I have, like, one of them has you can hear a fan going, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
one of those big fans. Or you get the oscillating fan.
And it's like just like low hum.
Yeah, low hum. And there's some kind of dB value they put on them that's supposed to hit REM sleep and everything. So anyway, yeah, those are fun. But we got the fireplace going now, so we're all in a nice cozy studio here.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
and that fan noise, because like you said, you could sleep on a plane.
Oh yeah,
like
I love it.
C-130 or the back of a 2-ton driving out to it was like, and that fan reminded me so much of when we were up in the air in the C-130.
Right.
Well, the C-130 is way louder than like a commercial airline, but that noise, you could hear that turbine going. So, but I definitely saved that loop for when I'm like laying down and want to conk out.
Yeah, it's just hard to sleep without white noise. But yeah, so you'd mentioned riding.
So
So I hadn't ridden in a couple weeks, so you must have been out recently.
I did. I went out once.
Well, I think we rode last week. I'm sorry, it wasn't 2 weeks; it was 1 week.
Yeah, we went out riding, and then suddenly this cold weather has rolled in. So the inclination to want to go out and ride has sort of fallen off. Only because it's that whole discomfort thing. Plus, I kind of look at it as, I don't want to put myself in a condition where I could, possibly, develop pneumonia or something like that.
Well, that's what you gotta be careful of. Well, it's funny. We were talking before we started this podcast about back in the day when you used to run like at Fort Leonard Wood and some of the other places. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because, you and I have different. Like for me, I have to bundle up. I have to have something around my neck.
Yeah.
And I like to cover my mouth and nose.
Yeah.
And then I wear long shorts. I wear thermal pants and thermal shirt, where you tend to run with shorts and a shirt.
Yeah, and what's funny when you talk about covering your face in a run, and the first thing that pops in my mind is you're somebody who's running from the scene of a crime.
Well, that's the world we live in now. Well, it's funny you mention that, because when we were out riding last week, we were crossing over a road. We were coming out of a neighborhood,
right,
crossing over a bridge to get back to a bike trail, and there's these two young guys.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? So they parked their truck on one side of the bridge, and the first guy went across. He had a box in his hand of some kind, and he had his hand in a box, which looked really suspicious to me.
Right.
And he was eyeballing me. Well, I have a theory about when somebody makes hard eye contact with you, it's either a cop. Okay, because cops
clearly we're not cops.
Yeah, we're not cops, or it's somebody up to no good, and they're really wanting to hard eye contact you to see if you're paying attention to them, to decide if they're going to engage you or not. And so, me being who I am, I just kept looking back and looking away, and I have pretty good peripheral, so I'm watching this guy. Then as we're crossing the bridge, the second guy's walking up behind him with his hands in his pocket.
Right.
And it wasn't a cold day that day. It was actually a really nice day.
Right.
And a little rainy, but it was good weather. And I'm really uncomfortable with guys with hoodies with their hands in their pocket walking and looking at me. And so there's a police officer sitting at the community center. And you know how hard it was for me not to go over there and say, hey, look, I think these guys are walking into this neighborhood to do no good. Because it looked like they had somewhere they were going. You know what I mean?
Right.
And knowing my luck, they were just taking donuts to somebody's house to sit there and play PlayStation or something. But you never know. You don't know if they're casing or going to go rob a house or come running, because the access for them would have been easy.
Well, I mean, they clearly did not look like they were contractors, because
No.
the vehicle that they were in didn't have any kind of a sign on it.
Right.
They weren't holding a clipboard. So, I mean, it was very peculiar, but
Yeah.
I was too much into the ride to really even notice, because only reason I noticed is because you made a remark about it.
Well, I see everything. I'm sorry. But yeah, so going back to the riding part.
So the ride. So we have clearly different strategies when it comes to getting geared up to go do some sort of vigorous activity. Now, my activity before used to be running.
Right.
So,
well, before you move forward, how old are you?
I am 52.
Okay, and I'm 57, about to turn 58. So there's a few years between us, but not that much.
Right.
Okay.
So when I used to run, I kind of got used to it. When I went into the service, there was obviously a lot of running.
Yeah.
So I always maintained that regimen only because it was for me. It was always preparation for the next run or PT test, and it was just period. It was just preparation period. So no matter what the temperature was outside, I had a certain way of getting ready for that run, and no matter what the temperature was, it was shorts and a t-shirt, and I always knew that the first 5 minutes of the run sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But once 5 minutes lapsed, I'd built up enough body heat, yada yada yada.
Right, you're burning calories like crazy,
and I would be good to go. There's only one time in my life where that strategy went out the window,
mm-hmm.
and it was I was at Fort Leavenworth for school,
mm-hmm.
and I'd only been in town like maybe a day or so. So I didn't really know the area, the crime activity, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't exactly stay in it like a great setting.
mm-hmm.
I would probably I was more expecting to see probably crack whores than anything in this hotel that I'd been put up in. Which I would later find out that I had officers from the war college that were in there. I just didn't see them because our schedules were different. So anyway, I drove to base, parked at the gym, and when I started my run, it was like 22 degrees, and it was the one time where I was like, okay, again,
that's cold.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, 5 minutes or so into this thing,
mm-hmm.
I'll be good. So it's a little bit of an incline as I'm running. I get about 3/4 of a mile into the run, and I'm almost to the neighborhood where the coalition officers and
mm-hmm.
all these people live. And I realize this is not getting any better.
Right.
And actually my hands are starting to ache. So
mm-hmm.
that means it's time to turn around. And the only cold weather protection I had on was the beanie I was wearing.
Right.
So, and I'm actually kind of lucky that I was uphill, because that downhill run went a lot faster.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But I couldn't have made it to my rental fast enough because my hands felt like needles were just poking me in the hands.
Well, it's funny for me because living in the Midwest, there for a while, I moved into town,
mm-hmm.
away from the farm into town, and I lived 8 blocks from an all-girls college, so it was, it was actually pretty good time.
Yeah.
But I literally would run with a couple of the girls. Okay. And they had this place called Bill Hill, and it was basically by the they have like a event center for this college down by Radio Springs Park and Lake.
Right.
And so it has a lot of hills. That's where it gets its name, Bill Hill. And so we would run. Now, I'm the kind of runner, so I played baseball and a lot of basketball. So for me, I'm good at sprints, short burst runs. I'm really not an endurance runner. I ran track in school, but I was basically a 400-meter guy.
Mm-hmm.
400 meters is tailor-made for neurotic personalities. I wasn't awesome at the 100. I wasn't all that great at the 200. But I can really hit a stride and just burn that last leg of that 400 and finish strong.
Right.
So I would run the anchor on the mile relay at the 400 meters. And so you're running with these girls, and one thing I found is that women, they don't run fast or slow. They just hit a really good space, a
mm-hmm.
good good pace.
Yeah.
And so I'm running and I'm like slowing down. I'm ahead of her. Then I'm way behind her. And I'm ahead of her.
It's this weird cadence.
It's just a weird cadence. And you know how I am about pacing. I like to pace.
Right.
So for me, it's like hard for me to find a good rhythm by myself. I got to have something to measure off of. And so, yeah, I used to just would kill me because they like to run 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles, and I'm like good for a mile or two, and then I'm done. And so, being a young guy and you're running with girls, you're doing your best to keep up with them, and they would just literally smoke me. Now, when it came to basketball or volleyball, I was killer on that. And I have very long endurance, but it's in short. I have to meter it out in short bursts. I'm just not a long distance guy ever.
Right.
Couldn't do it.
So so because of this weather that we're experiencing now, it's sort of pushed me to look at my gym membership that I've had for years, and I've been so used to biking these days that's pretty much the only thing that I'm only physical activity that I'm
same here, and I actually enjoy it though. I think so. Running is okay, but if I'm going to run, it's going to be cross country. I can't do tracks anymore.
Right.
I just my joints are really really sore. You were talking about running in t-shirts and things like that.
Right.
My biggest problem is my joints. My knees, my ankles, all those things like that take a while to warm up.
Yeah.
They just do. I literally will microwave a towel.
Running in cold weather, the joints are, they're going to be exposed immediately.
And they hurt right away. So I have to wrap. So I'll wear like a sweatshirt with no sleeves. I'll wear a t-shirt under it, but I'll have a sleeveless sweatshirt on.
Right.
As long as I can keep my neck, my head, and my chest warm.
Right.
I'm pretty much okay. I think for the most part, for me, the legs, I got to keep them covered in the cold weather.
Sure.
But we got a helicopter coming over here.
That's okay. I was about to say.
Yeah, that sounded like a Black Hawk or something.
I was thinking. I was like, God damn that.
No, they
they
did them this morning. The yards were done this morning. Yeah, but we get a lot of Well, see, today's Thursday. That's why we're getting that. So Hooks Airport, just down the road at lunch. If you ever want to see some cool stuff, go for lunch at the Aviator Grill, and you'll see Coast Guard, Army, National Guard, Air Force. They all fly in on Thursdays and have lunch at Hooks, and then they refuel and turn around and fly back out. So that's what we're hearing. We're hearing that sounds like a Black Hawk coming over. Yeah.
So lunch is over.
Yeah. So lunch is over. Yeah. What is it? What is a long lunch for the Flyboys today? Wasn't it? But yeah, it's kind of fun to watch that at Hooks. But no, so for me, I have to keep those joints warm.
Right.
The hardest part for me is when you're done and you're sweating.
Right.
And I start to freeze. I have to literally get something warm on, or I'm going to get sick. And that's my big concern is that whole getting chest cold from that run.
Well, because I've gone into or have resorted to using the gym as an option, I've kind of developed this like self-loathing because I'm like God damn it. I used to run in this stuff all the time, and now how I look at it is I'm making a conscious choice.
Sure.
To not go out and endure the elements just so I can be a little bit more comfortable inside of it.
But you're not a spring chicken anymore. When I was a kid, we used to play with t-shirts and jeans or shorts in the winter all the time.
Right.
And you have that, I don't know, when you're young, you just have that fire that you don't have now. When you get older, you start paying the price for all that damage you did when you were young.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not really that cold, right? It really isn't.
No.
We can probably make good rides out of it.
Sure.
It's just that it's a mental thing. For me, it's a mental thing.
But part of me just goes, "How dare you step in the middle of me bashing, of beating myself up for not doing this simple thing like running outside? Oh, it's a little cold."
I know, right? Yeah, it's funny how that works. But no, so the gym's not a bad idea. Actually, I need to start doing that too. It's just hard for me to work out in a gym. It's just too crowded.
Like when I went there last night to make sure that I wasn't going to have any problems with my membership, I like when I was working in the when we use the gyms overseas, or really, I remember using the gyms on some of the bases I was at. Timing is everything.
Sure.
So, I've been in those gyms where it was just elbows and assholes. You basically are standing around waiting to use equipment,
right?
Instead of actually working. So that's I don't really lift weights like I used to. There's certain things that I'll do, but
do you use machines or do you use free weights?
Free weights, but I'm more functional now.
Yeah.
So everything I do
Right.
It goes towards something that I do in my everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
So am I throwing around a lot of weight anymore? Not anymore, only because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't really fit into. Now I may do like a day or so where I actually will throw about or lift, something that's not normal for me.
Right.
Just so I can have that experience.
If I go to a gym, it's a 20-minute workout and 25 minutes and I'm done.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a push-pull alternate day kind of guy. That works better for me.
Yep.
I don't like spending more than 30 minutes in a gym. I just don't. I want to hit my circuit and be done. Now, when I used to lift for weight, because I used to lift a lot of heavy weight, and I got pretty big back in times doing that. I don't feel like investing the meals into it because it's a lot of food, and for me, I'm more interested in just maintaining lean muscle,
right,
and flexibility.
Right.
So I generally don't look to get the bulk anymore. I've actually gotten rid of a lot of bulk over the years because powerlifting, it's fun, but it really does a lot of damage to your body, man. I mean, I feel like I'm walking cartilage in the morning.
It's like, there's a lot of wear and
shoulder injuries, neck injuries. It's just one of those things that I just can't endure anymore. So I like I said, 20 minutes in and out. If I go 3 days a week, I'd rather do kettlebells at the house.
Yes. Yeah.
I used to have a bench and weights, and I got rid of it because to me, I like the fundamental or the foundational exercises. I'm not really too fancy with that.
Yeah, because there's nothing in life where you're actually laying on your back, doing something that you do every day. Whereas life is full of compound movements
for sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of my whole deal.
But so what we're saying really is we just need to quit being wusses and get out there and hit the elements because. If it ain't raining, you ain't training, right? So that's kind of.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
I know, right? So you had another event this week, huh? I mean, you guys have really been rolling them up. So you went to a wedding, huh?
Yeah, my cousin got married, and she was the last of our generation to get married. So
okay,
my cousin, another cousin, he's in the lineage of us. He's one behind me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he had a very poignant send off for her.
Right. So is it a theme type? Because a lot of people are doing theme weddings now.
So she's always been kind of a water baby. She's always been around water and
skier, fisherman kind of person.
Well, she was a volleyball player all the way. I think she played club when she was younger. High school, she went to she went to college on a scholarship as and was recruited heavily. She went to a school in Louisiana.
Okay,
and so
volleyball's big down here. That's amazing.
So, and she's always participated in volleyball. Either if she wasn't playing it, she was coaching it.
Right.
And so, anyway, her now husband was the same way. So they've been doubles partners for like a really long time, and they would go to these tournaments all around, and play 2-man sand volleyball. And if you've ever
it's brutal beach volleyball, you got to be an athlete, man. I want to tell you something. You watch organized volleyball on a hard court, and it is a game of strategy and skill for sure. But when you hit the beach, that sand is the great equalizer. That's like playing 5 games. It's brutal.
The last time I played in sand, I was married, but it was something I did every week.
Right.
And I had a doubles partner that I met through a one night of playing. Where we used to play out over in Sugarland area, and it's I think the place that Michael Berry's club.
Oh, the Redneck Country Club.
Yeah. So the club his place is at
Right.
was the former location of the place that we used to play
Oh, okay.
beach or play sand court volleyball.
Well, the one thing I noticed about sand volleyball, so I was a really good basketball player in high school, and I had a 30-plus inch vertical leap.
Good. Do that in sand.
You can't do that in sand, man. Although I could still spike the ball, but it wasn't as prolific as it
No.
was jumping up and grabbing a rim at a 10-foot mark.
If you're
Yeah.
able to, if you can jump in sand,
Yeah.
or even if you can't, you're
Yeah.
gonna earn it.
Oh, big time. You don't do it very much because
No.
you get tired really quick.
So anyway, so nice wedding, and they had it at a really cool place over off the bay over in Clear Lake.
Oh, like Bay Shores or something like that?
Yeah, it was. There was a Sam's. I think they call it the Admiral.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where you're at. Yeah.
So, and I'd been there previously.
And was there a boat involved in this wedding?
Yeah, so I was going to tell you that so I didn't realize it at the time, but her husband, I think, owns this boat that they actually came in. So we were all inside visiting, waiting for the bride and groom to arrive.
This is prior to the wedding or after?
This is prior to the reception.
Oh,
so
reception.
Wedding is over,
Okay.
yeah, wedding is
Gotcha.
over. We've all migrated down to this place, which was it was 5 or 10 minutes away from where we had the wedding.
Right.
So, we're all inside kind of congregating, exchanging stories, saying hello to people that we didn't see at the wedding. And anyway, somebody comes in and says, okay, the wedding party is about to arrive. Please go outside and stand at the, okay, we had this really cool balcony that was off of the room that they had rented to hold their reception.
Oh, very
at.
cool.
So we all go out on the balcony, and this, it's, probably one of the things that you think about is, at that point, I hope that the structural integrity of this balcony.
Because you do see videos of that stuff
absolutely.
falling, and people, and it's always at a wedding or a graduation, which is really sad.
So the wedding party comes driving up, and somebody says they're coming. They're being basically, it was like a parade float.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So somebody was driving. I don't know if it was his truck, but the wedding party was on the boat. That they're trailing around.
That's cool.
And I was like, this was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And so my cousin, she's really animated. So she's on the boat, and she's looking up to the people that are there to wish her congratulations and see her off, and she's like, what? But she's doing it.
Yeah.
So she was just having a good time.
That's great.
So
that's funny about weddings. Usually they start off having one hell of a time, then life sets in.
So it was a nice crowd, a lot of family, a lot of friends, and it wasn't the room. Everybody wasn't crammed in such a room where you were almost like elbows and assholes. There was a lot of moving around, and one of the things that I had kind of forgotten about is just how much my family likes to dance.
Right.
And
well, you're Irish, man.
So, this particular side of my family is Polish.
Oh, even better.
You
polka.
got freaking Bohemians
yes.
here. So, so anyway, so they're having a grand old time, and I have a few family members like, okay, come on, Sam. And I'm like, nope. And then you kind of want to mimic, hey, I kind of look like I'm complying with what they want to do.
Well, you can dance like the Caddyshack.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't because you're hip, right?
It's one of those things where I'm, again, more self-loathing pops in. I'm like, God damn it, I used to do this stuff.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
So, but it was a good time.
So you guys just recently had a funeral.
Yeah,
So were some of the same people at this event?
No.
Okay, so it was a completely different
So
group.
it was my father's side for the funeral. It was my mother's
side. Okay,
side
so you got new people to talk to.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing that was kind of cool about this event was, we're coming up on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So the family members that were present here are typically who we spend the holiday or the Christmas and Thanksgiving with. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool that you almost had this break the ice occasion where you can kind of get your pleasantries and here's what I've been doing for the last since the beginning of the year. This is what I've been doing. So with Thanksgiving coming up, it'll be just that much more, hey, there's not getting reacquainted.
Sure. Yeah, that's a nice thing. Now, you were mentioning something about the 3 rings of marriage. Who come up with this?
Okay, so
this is interesting.
And I thought this was the priest, and I found out later, because during this poignant thing that my cousin said to to our female cousin who got married,
right,
was something the deacon had said. So, and I didn't realize he was a deacon.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the thing about marriage, according to this person telling the story, was that there are 3 rings that are exchanged during the vow of marriage. You have your engagement ring,
mm-hmm.
you have the wedding ring, and then after that comes the suffer ring.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was funny,
sure,
but very accurate.
Oh yeah.
When they were conveying the story, because I was like, I do recall this. I got, if I'm looking at it from, as a plate of food
right.
that I got,
uh-huh.
I got more suffering than any of this other shit. So,
well, it's funny because so there for a while I had a photography business, and I used to do portraits, and I did a lot of weddings.
Right.
And so when you do weddings, it's an interesting way to make a living.
Right.
You really don't do much. I mean, I guess people do it now because they use drones and video more now than ever. But back in the day, it was all static photography.
Right.
And I would see more fights before the wedding and fights after the wedding, because, remember, this is all in East Texas now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not indicative to East Texas because people are going to be
Right.
people. But you would see all this, like, just tension. One thing goes wrong, the bride melts down, or the mother of the bride melts down, or whatever it is. People
mm-hmm.
would just like lose their mind over little stuff.
Sure.
And so a lot of times the preacher would say something during the ceremony, say, hey, we had this wedding, is going to be a strong union between 2 people. Even though it may start out with a little strife, he says it won't be anything like the strife you face
Right.
down the road. And and he's right. I mean, it is. It's kind of tough. You got to be able to get along. But
it's funny if you don't get some kind of resolution or resolve the issue. You could get to a point where somebody's issuing last rites, and now you're going to have a funeral.